And of course, you disappear. And then you disappear. So turn it on.
Oh, it's one of my favorite classes today. Just realized that. It's Thursday.
Okay. Little technical difficulties today. I believe we are live. We're live, correct? Looks right. Okay, today, yoga for stress. This is a class about releasing tension. So looking for places where we hold tension and releasing it, looking for ways to release the tension. It's not necessarily a stretch class or a strength class in any way. We're just looking to get to know the physical body. So, theme of the week is be true. So, we are going to think about that throughout class. Thinking about being true to the message, the purpose of this particular style of class. We're trying to locate places of stress. So, things to think about. Start at seated position. And whatever that is comfortably for you. So wherever you can feel kind of your hips on the ground and start to think about your spine. Give some wiggle, start to ground. If you need a chair, please use a chair. There are no prizes for sitting easy seat. So use props. And if you have difficulty in using props, this is a good way to bring in some exploration, some self-thinking. Why is it that you're refusing to get your chair when you know that you're not very comfortable in this position? So ask yourself some of these questions. So start seated. Start to give your spine some little gentle movements, just really starting to feel in the physical body. So start to move around, move the shoulders, and then find a position that feels like neutral to you. So neutral in your spine. Your low back is not overly curved or overly flattened. Your shoulders feel comfortable. Your neck feels comfortable. And then just let your hands drop in your lap wherever they're comfortable. Lift them up maybe. See if you can drop them a little more softly, a little more loose in the shoulders. Palms soft. And then if it's comfortable, begin to close your eyes and really tune inward. So our body is really good at kind of tuning out messages of stress. So when the messages of stress become consistent, so for example, let's say we do a job where we use our right shoulder a lot and our right shoulder is lifted, lifted, lifted. And this becomes kind of normal because there's so much tension in the shoulder and it's lifted and tight. This becomes your normal patterns. Your body tells you that that's normal. Even though you're holding a lot of tension here, you may not be connected with it until it's actually causing some problems. So the purpose of this class is to look in, get that mind-body connection going again, and find places where we might be holding tension that we weren't previously aware of. So closing your eyes, breathing and looking in, particularly in around all of the muscles that support the spine. So the muscles of the neck, the muscles of all the way down the back, and the muscles in the torso that support the spine. So really see if you can connect with some of these ones that are deeper in underneath the stomach muscles. See how many muscles you can connect with. Think about all the muscles that support spinal movement. Think about all the ways that your spine can move. So we can move side to side. So maybe give a soft little sway side to side with your shoulders soft. I'm thinking about the muscles that make this movement happen. How do they feel? And you can open your eyes or you can keep them closed and just follow my voice. Just moving side to side. Which muscles are moving? Your spine, your shoulders. Come back to neutral, and then we're going to think about connecting with particular muscles. So we're going to think about using the muscles in the back to tilt us side to side. So we're going to tilt the right shoulder side, and then think about squeezing the muscles in the back. So squeeze in between the rib cage and the hip in the back. See if you can really think about those muscles.
And squeeze those?
Well, how did you get there?
Well, yeah, I know they work, but you can squeeze them.
See if you can find some connection here. Squeeze. So if you're like Kaylee and you're really confused, take a little pulse. So lift your shoulder up and squeeze it down. Lift it up, squeeze it down. So really see if you can squeeze these particular muscles. Squeeze in the back. And then bring your shoulder back up. Neutral. Take a little wiggle. And then we're going to make the same movement, but we're going to think about moving from the stomach. So we can make the same movement, but really focus on using the stomach muscles more. So maybe a little to help you, a little tilt a little bit forward. So as if you're reaching and leaning. So a little tilt forward. See if you can find the muscles in your stomach, and you can take your fingers here and look for these muscles. Look for them. Squeeze them. Look for them. See if you can find them. Dig around in there. Connect with these muscles. Maybe pulse a little. And see how you're moving your spine in a similar direction, but you're connecting with two different muscle groups to make the movement. Bring it back. Take a little wiggle. Reset. And we're going to go over to the other side. So check in on the other side, starting with the back. So we're going to take our left shoulder over and see if we can squeeze in the back. So see if you can find those muscles in your back that help you twist, help you turn. And then if you can't find it, maybe giving a little pulse, a little wiggle. See if you can really connect to the muscles in the back.
I can squeeze those.
You know, you can actually take your hand behind here and feel the muscles and really help you try and connect with these muscles back here. If you stick your hand back here and poke around, you're going to feel the muscles getting tight. Can you feel them? I'm just checking. And then bring it back to neutral. Give a little wiggle. Reset. And then we're going to do the same thing, but trying to find the stomach muscle. So maybe bring your right hand in between the rib cage and the hip on the left side. And you're going to lean over and squeeze the stomach muscles. So squeezing the stomach muscles to protect the spinal movement this way. So making this movement come from the stomach. Pay attention to if you feel like you're needing to compete and get somewhere. We're just trying to connect with the muscles. There's no goal. There's no like perfect, oh, if you get all the way over here, it looks so pretty. We're just trying to connect with muscle movement here. Just a teeny bit, enough to find the muscles. So watch for if you're not even on your hips and you're really trying to get somewhere with your shoulders. And then bring it back to neutral. And we're going to think about other ways our spine can move. So we're going to twist. We can twist and turn. So think about how many times you do this movement throughout your day. Think about driving. You turn and look behind you. You turn around to look behind you. It's so many things. You do this movement without thinking. You just move. So now try and have that mind-body connection. Turn and look behind you to the right. So turn and look, keeping your hips even. So turn and look. Hold it here. What muscles are you using? So do a check-in. Are you pushing into a foot or a hip to squeeze a little further? Notice that. So see if you can feel the muscles closer to the spine that might be making you make this movement. And then check in on the neck. What are you
feeling any muscles?
What are you doing in the neck? Well, you have to be using something because you're moving. See if you can find that connection. See if your arms and shoulders are loose, your neck is loose. Come back. So now we're going to make this movement happen intentionally. So we're going to think about how we're moving. We're not just going to twist. We're going to think about our hips being even. So imagine pushing down through your hips, keeping your hips pretty grounded. Now, moving only from the rib cage up, turn and look towards the right. So try not to move through the hips. Try to be soft through the lower body, but a little bit grounded. So both hips down. Turn, look. Breathe. Nice slow breath. And then turn back. And then we're just gonna reset and turn without thinking about it to the left. So turn to the other side. And notice which muscles are active. Notice any places that seem to be pinching or pulling. Notice if you're pressing down into a foot or a knee or a hip. Breathe. Bring it back to neutral. And then we're going to move intentionally. So ground down, both hips even on the ground. Not too much action through the legs and hips. We're going to move from the rib cage up, turn and look left. Hold. See which muscles you can connect to. What's firing up? What do you feel holds you here in this movement? Check in on the neck. Make sure the neck is nice and soft. Nice slow breath. Then bring it back to neutral. Arms down and pick up a shoulder one at a time. Nice and slow. Just resetting, moving through the shoulders. We're going to think about our neck. So our neck moves too. Try and move through our neck. Try to think about connection to all these muscles that move with our spine, because so often they're the muscles that get tense and tight and cause issues and stress. So we're going to think about our hips being even, and we're going to think about the curves of our back. So one of the things that we often do is we think about good posture a lot, and we try to overly straighten our back. So we push our back up, we push our shoulders back, we take out all the natural curves of the spine, and we even often push our chin back and take out the curve of our neck. So when we're trying to think about getting nice and tall and straight in the spine, sometimes we push away the natural curves of our spine. So we're going to think about that. We're going to try and have natural shape of our spine. And then we're going to think about our head being lighter. So maybe growing through the crown of your head, as if somebody had a string on the top of your head and pulled you up. Just make the weight of your skull a little bit lighter. So just connect with imagining that. Imagining your skull is just a little bit lighter. And then keeping your chin very neutral. So think about your chin, maybe even feel your chin. Does it feel like parallel to the ground? Keeping your chin neutral, take your right hand to the right side of your head, little tiny press of your fingers into your head, and then press your head into your fingers while pressing up. So it's a little tiny adjustment just to see if you can feel the muscles of your neck fire up. See if you can feel them. Don't strain, just feel, connect with those muscles, and then let go. Left fingers to the left side of your head, not pressing hard and not pressing into the temple. And then we're going to try and get nice and tall. So just firing up the muscles of the neck. So press your head a little bit into the fingertips and a little bit upwards. See if you can get a little bit taller in the neck and find connection to the muscles of your neck. And maybe you can take your fingers along the side of your neck and feel these muscles in your neck. You can feel them fire up. And then let them go. And then take your chin all the way down towards your chest. Feel the muscles on the back of the neck. So we want to really connect. We're being true to what we're doing. We're trying to find the muscles on the back of our neck. And when we find them, did anything else happen in our back? Do we have any other holding patterns? Maybe some lower back muscles are talking. Maybe somewhere in the middle of the back. Maybe between the shoulder blades. And then we're going to bring our chin back to neutral. We're going to slowly take our chin to the ceiling. So the difference between taking your chin to the ceiling and dropping your head. So this is me taking my chin and reaching my chin towards the ceiling and feeling the muscles of the neck. This is me falling back on the back of my vertebrae. So I don't want to drop my skull onto my vertebrae and have no connection to my muscles. So I'm going to send my chin up. point my chin to the ceiling actively with the muscles of my neck. So really connecting with the front of my neck, pushing up. And you can even push your chin forward and really connect to the front of your neck. Slowly bring your head back to neutral. And then we're going to work with really, really, really slow circles. So we don't want to be just rolling around on the joints. We want to have a muscle connection. And we want to think about all the points. We want to connect to where the muscles might be tight, where there might be gripping, where there might be holding patterns. So that's what we're doing. We're looking for those holding patterns. So you're going to bring your chin down towards your chest. And then you're slowly going to take your head in a circle as if you're trying to feel every single muscle that makes movement happen. So really, 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 really slow. And again, not just dropping your head backwards, but trying to feel the muscles. When you get back to neutral, switch the direction and go in the opposite direction. Take your head in the opposite direction. See how many muscles you can connect with. Maybe notice at certain points a little more tension in certain places. Really just trying to check in and notice, feel, have an experience. And then bring your head back to neutral. We're going to think about the shoulders. So another common place of holding stress is either across the front of the shoulders. People have their shoulders pulled in because they're holding and pulling in. A little bit of stress that way. Or the opposite way, a lot of people pull between the shoulder blades when they're feeling stressed. So they pull the shoulder blades back and the muscles right in between the shoulder blades can get really, really tight. So we're going to think about the shoulders. So we're going to start by taking our shoulders and over accentuating movement. So pulling the shoulders all the way forward. So as if you are completely hunched, pull the shoulders forward. See how this feels. Pull as much as you can. So you're trying to widen across the shoulder blades and squeeze the shoulders in. So then we're going to really think about if we were really just pulled tight in the chest. So we're going to pull the sternum back a little. Really starting to arch the belly, arch the chest, pull back, pull the shoulders towards each other. And if you like, it can be very supportive to grab your shoulders and just feel like you're hugging. Watch for tension in your neck, watch for tension in the low back. Breathe as you pull, not with your hands, you're just holding, but you're pulling with the muscles, pulling your shoulders forward. And then we're going to over accentuate the other way. So if you're holding, slowly unravel and bring your shoulders back to neutral. So see what neutral feels like. Maybe it feels a little bit different than what you had before we did that exercise. It might feel a little different. You might feel some sensations in your shoulders, maybe not. So neutral here. And then we're going to go the other way, over accentuating. So we're going to pull the shoulder blades tight together, squeeze them together as much as you can. So really pull the shoulder blades together. Notice anywhere else that feels tight. So this might bring up some holding patterns in the low back. It might bring up some holding patterns in the neck. Just starting to really experience and check in. Pull the shoulder blades really tight together. Pull them together as hard as you can. Really firing up, over accentuating. And then we're going to push the shoulder blades down while squeezing. So push them down towards the ground. Squeeze and push them down towards the ground. Squeeze the shoulder blades. Hands can be wherever they're comfortable. And then keeping the squeeze, squeezing the shoulder blades, slowly draw the shoulders up to the ear while squeezing them together. So and if we can do this on video, you can do this at home. Squeeze. Look ridiculous, feel ridiculous. Squeeze them some more. Take a deep breath in. And with the exhale, suddenly release the tension in your shoulders. See what happens. See what neutral feels like.
My muscles are tired though.
Do your shoulders feel a little bit different?
I'm tired.
We're going to take some circles thinking about the upper back. So there's not a lot of movement in the upper back. A lot of the most...
Someone's calling you. Answer your phone.
Could you
Unless you don't
please
like them.
turn it off?
It's Elijah. I knew this was gonna happen.
Bring it here so I can make sure I can turn them off. Excuse us. My son has set himself up on my phone so that he can... Kaylee, don't worry about it. So that he can get through whenever he wants. All right, so we're going to think about upper spine. So our spine moves in the upper spine, but not a whole lot. So we're going to be very soft and protective with this movement. Did you text him?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So you're going to take your hands and you're just going to place them on your upper arms or on your shoulders, just crossing over. It doesn't matter which way is on top because we're going to do both. So we're going to think about moving basically in the shoulder blade area. So you don't want to move too much in the lower spine. We're thinking about the upper spine. So you want the base to be kind of soft and neutral. And we're going to take circles with our upper back. So just like we did with our head, we're going to think about our upper back. You're going to round down and pull your shoulders forward. And then you're going to take a big circle with your shoulders. So think about all the ways your upper back can move. Watch for tension in your neck. So try to keep your chin at neutral even when you're leaning backwards. Take your circle as slow as you can. See if you can find some movement in your upper back. And then go back in the other direction. See if you can connect with the muscles that make this movement happen. Feel, experience, bring it back to neutral. Switch the cross of your hands. So go the other direction, other hand on top. It might feel strange because we typically do things one way. So when you switch, naturally it feels a little odd. Just like when you clasp your hands the uncomfortable way, it feels strange. And now take your circle from this position. So bring your chin forward, your shoulders forward, arching. So making space in that upper back, really pulling forward and then making your circle. Slow as you can. Feeling your back, feeling the muscles in your back, and then back in the other direction. Slowly, not just rolling around. Trying to feel your back. And then bring it back to neutral. We're going to take our arms out, even with the shoulders, and we're going to roll our shoulders. So you're going to flip the right palm. You're going to look at it, but we're using the palm as a guide. What we really want to do is take the movement into the shoulders. So as you flip the right palm, look at it, you want to roll the shoulder backwards. And then switch. You're going to flip it back the other way, flip the left palm and look at it. So really rolling through the shoulders, corkscrew movement. Take it left and right. Start to get a little free with the movement. So start to feel your own holding patterns and just move as if you're trying to undo all common movement in your day-to-day life in your shoulders. So we use our shoulders a lot, but we don't do it intentionally. We move and grab and pull on our shoulders all day long. And now we're trying to think about undoing patterns, undoing stress in our shoulders. And then bring your hands down to the ground and take a little wiggle, little reset, see how they feel. Take your hands, you're gonna flick like you're flicking glitter around. Flick and soften, loosen the arms. The whole arms.
Oh.
She's like, her glitter is like not spraying anywhere. She's got like little, she doesn't want to make a mess. I can see it on the screen.
Making a little pile of food.
It's like, whoa. In real life, that would be her, because I can't even imagine how she would react to glitter all around her. I think she would freak out. Maybe that's like some kind of subconscious thing.
Subconsciously, you said glitter, and I was like, oh god.
She was like, I don't want glitter around me. That's funny. All right, so now we're going to take little spirals. So thinking more about the mid-body. We're going to move our chest around. Nice, slow spiral. Slow. Feel all the ways your spine can move. Feel all the muscles that help it move. And then go the other direction. Nice and slow. So this is rolling around on a joint. Like I'm just flopping in this joint. I don't feel any muscles. I can wiggle my hand, wave my hand like this. This is moving with intention. So I would move with intention through my wrist joint. See now when I do this and activate my muscles, you can hear some creaking and clicking and movement through the wrist that actually feels really good. So same thing with the spine. We're not just rolling around. We're trying to feel the muscles that make this movement happen. We're trying to have an experience. Where might we have some tension? Where might we have some tiredness? Notice. Maybe you get to one angle and you're like, whew, that feels tight somewhere, or that just, you're really looking in. The yoga is the experience of looking inward, finding what's going on. So then we're going to come on over to a tabletop position. So come forward to a tabletop and we'll take a little movement and breath, thinking about just being in movement and breath, more of a meditation. So we're going to inhale in tabletop, exhale towards a child's pose shape, nice and slow. Inhale forward and exhale down. Thinking perhaps about some of the holding patterns we might have if we take this movement frequently. If you're new to yoga and you're just starting out, getting onto your hands, maybe you have some tension in your wrists. So new to yoga, maybe this is the time where you start to think about your wrists, start to think about where you place your hands for your own comfort. So rather than thinking about where somebody told you your hands should be, think about, can I move my hands in a way that my wrists are a little more comfortable while they support my weight and get stronger? If you're experienced in yoga and you have been doing down dogs for a long time, and perhaps you've been doing them in such a way that you have increased a little tension in your wrists because you've used them so much. So maybe you can be a little truthful to your body, to your pose, to your practice, and start to assess where your hands and shoulders are. And maybe you can adjust to make them a little more comfortable. And then come on up to a tabletop position. If you're not comfortable under knees, place something in underneath your knees. We're going to place our hands down wider than our shoulders and not directly under your shoulders. So not this 90-degree angle, but forward of your shoulders. Lots of space for the wrists and arms. You're going to experience coming forward and taking weight into the wrists, but sinking in. So land in your wrists by just putting all your weight into your wrists.
I don't know how to do that.
Come forward.
If I think about it, I can't do it. I'm sure I do it all the time.
Come forward. Let all the weight, without thinking. So you're just coming forward and you're just kind of landing in your hands. And then come back. And now this time, we're going to think about pulling the weight up out of our hands. How do we do that? We need to fire up the muscles of the arms. We need to fire up the muscles of the chest. So everything that we can think of that would help us pull weight, pull our body weight, and support our wrists and shoulders. So think about those muscles, have an experience. Pull up get really, really strong, then take some weight a little more over to your hands. See what happens. And if you want to try what it feels like, maybe this feels a little different than what you normally feel. Maybe you lift your knees and hover and see if you can take a little more weight in your hands this way with your arms nice and strong.
I think that's getting close to getting off my mat.
And then lower the knees. Take your hips back, leaving your hands here. Pull back. So pull back from the hands. Pull, pull, pull as you send your hips backwards. So see if you can get a pull all the way to in underneath the armpit, maybe even down to the rib cage. Lengthening, lower the head, take the tension out of the head. Find a position that's comfortable for your feet, for your knees, for your hips. We're really thinking about in the arms and shoulders right now. See if you can lengthen the back of your arms. Breathe. Maybe you've got a little more space and you can wiggle your hands a little bit further away from you. Breathe. And then slowly make your way back to a tabletop position. And then with active shoulders, so feeling like we're pulling ourselves out of the ground with our arms and chest and shoulder muscles, we're going to take shoulder circles. So think about moving your shoulders in little slow circles while the muscles are active. Watch for too much buckling in the low back, so keep a little muscle awareness in around the low back. And then see if you can switch the direction of your circle. So go the other way. Roll your shoulders nice and slow in a different direction. And then we're going to pull our sternum all the way up. Pull, 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 pull. Pull the sternum up. Slowly, with muscle action, pull the sternum down towards the ground. Pull the sternum up. Pull, 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 pull with muscle action. And then lower it down towards the ground. So muscles active, not just flopping into the shoulders. See how many muscles you can connect with. Pull up, pull up, pull up, pull out of the ground. And then slowly pull the chest down towards the ground as slow as you can. Maybe you can feel a squeeze of the shoulder blades together when you lower your chest. And then pull open, widen the shoulder blades. Pull the chest back. And then slowly come back to a seat. Land in a seat. Whether you're seated on a chair or seated easy seat. And just see what feels different from when we started. So believe it or not, that was almost 40 minutes of movement. So notice what feels different. Wiggle around, see what feels different in the arms, the shoulders, the back. Really have an experience of connecting within. What do you have in your own muscles of your back, your neck, your shoulders? See what you can feel. We're going to think a little bit about the jaw because that's another place we commonly hold tension. So we're going to think about thinking about the jaw is one way to know, like to be easily connect to the fact that we can hold a lot of tension without knowing it until it's problematic. So thinking about the jaw, you can grit your teeth for a very, very, very long time and not even notice until these muscles that support your jaw start to spasm and hurt. So think about the muscles of your jaw. We're going to warm our hands. So rub our hands together, warm them. And then we're going to place them right where upper and lower jaw meet. And we're going to connect to as many muscles as we can think about here. And imagine the warmth of our hands is just going right in and softening any tension in these muscles. And then we're going to place any hand in underneath our jaw. So palm down, press into your jaw. So press your hand into your jaw and then push your chin down into your hand. So you have those opposing forces. Now you start to feel the muscles that would move your jaw. So press until you can feel the muscles. Maybe you can feel around with the other hand, starting to really notice which muscles are firing up. You can probably feel some in around the top of the jaw and underneath. Notice, press into the hand into the jaw. So you're really pressing, trying not to let the jaw move. You're trying to find the muscles. Take a deep breath in, and with the exhale, let the pressure go. And then we're going to push our jaw over to the right. So you're going to take your hand, place it on your right side of your jaw, and then push your jaw with the muscles of your jaw over to your hand. So you don't let your jaw move by holding your hand here and push your jaw into your hand. Push over. Feel the muscles that make this movement happen. We move our jaws in all kinds of ways all day. And even at night, we never think about these muscles. They just do the work for us. Take a deep breath in. And with the exhale, soften. Feel your jaw. Take your hand to the other side, left side of the face. Press your hand into the jaw into the hand. Opposing forces. Connect with the muscles. Take a deep breath in, and with the exhale, let it soften. And then we're going to push our chin forward. So take your hand to the front of your chin, push your chin forward into your hand without letting it move. So the opposing force of your hand holds your chin. Find the muscles that make this happen. Push, push, push. Take a deep breath in and let it soften. Now we're going to push our jaw forward. So push your jaw forward, and then we're going to pull it backwards. So we're going to take our hand and hold it in the forward position, and then we're going to pull backward into our hand. So I can't really do this and talk at the same time. So you're going to push your jaw forward to the most open space. So really over accentuating your jaw way past your teeth. And then you're going to hold it there and pull back with the muscles. So hold on to your jaw with your jaw forward and pull back. And take a deep breath in, and with the exhale, soften. Now we're going to take a circle with the lower jaw, really slow, one direction, and then really, really slow in the opposite direction. So moving your lower jaw in all the directions it can go. Nice and slow, open up and take your chin in a circle. And then back the other way.
It's really loud and clicky.
Crunch your back teeth together. So hold your back teeth together. Feel them tight. Hold tight. Take a deep breath in, and with the exhale, see if you can let the jaw drop as if it's suddenly dropping. So hold your teeth tight, squeeze, and then can you drop your lower jaw? Crunch together. So do this a couple of times, crunching your teeth together. And then drop it. See if you can drop it. Notice that it can be really hard to let this lower jaw drop. The muscles hold a lot of tension. So do it a couple of times. Squeezing, letting go. And then we're going to make our way down to our backs. So nice and slow, take your time. Come on down. You don't look happy. Take your time coming on down to your back. Find your hips on the ground. Begin with your feet down on the ground and your knees up. So find a way so that your lower back, your glutes, and everything around your hips is nice and soft. So wiggle around until you feel nice and soft. Check in on overly pressing your lower back down to the ground or overly pulling. So too much arch in the low back or too little. So wiggle the hips around until you feel like your natural curve is there. Relaxed and soft in the lower back. And then see if you can get your head so that your chin is pointing to the ceiling. And we're going to think just a little bit more about the muscles around the jaw. So connect to the point where your head is touching the ground. Feel your head touching the ground. And then press your head a little bit into the ground. Very gentle when we work with the muscles of the neck. So press your head a little bit into the ground. See which muscles you can feel any tension in when you do this. Take a deep breath in. And with the exhale, soften.
I'm doing it with my back. I can't not do it with my back.
So that's your holding patterns. That's why you do it, so you can check in. Now we're going to just think about that place where the back of our head is touching, and we're going to take any hand and place it on the forehead. So now we have a point on the back of the head and a point on the forehead where we can feel a little pressure. So connect to this. Feel your hand on your forehead. Feel the back of your head on the ground. And then think about softness trickling down the muscles from the temples slowly down, as if somebody dropped an egg on your skin and it's dripping down your skin, and that's trickling down the muscles of your skin and the muscles in your skin on your face down into the jaw. See if you can get that soft trickly feeling to go all the way around the jaw. Nice slow breath. See if you can imagine your lower jaw more and more melting into the skin of your face. And all the muscles that support your jaw, softening and loosening. Think about your tongue getting softer in your mouth. Maybe even feeling less tense in your gums. Soft roof of your mouth, soft gums. And then slowly let your hand come to the ground wherever your shoulder is most comfortable. So both hands on the ground, elbows bent, palms up, however your shoulders are most comfortable. Land on the ground. Think about as much softness as possible in around the muscles of the chin and into the jaw. Maybe you can start to spread some of that softness up into the muscles of the upper lip and around the cheeks. Getting soft around the muscles of the eyes and into the temples. And then we're going to do a little bit of somatic movement. So somatic movement is trying to get as loose as possible to shake up the muscles. So we're trying to be loose and soft. So we're going to take our feet up
just so that we can have our feet up. The legs don't need to be straight. They don't need to be in a perfect position. We're trying to lift our legs so that we can shake and kick them. So shake and loosen and kick them. Really try and get as soft as possible. See how many muscles you can soften and loosen and wiggle in your legs and feet. Wiggle, soften, loosen. And then maybe take your arms up and shake your arms, tantrum pose. Shake and loosen, shake and loosen, shake and loosen. So really think about tantrums. When little children are overwhelmed, they stump their feet, they shake their muscles, and they get that energy out. So think about doing that. Get it out, loosen, soften, get rid of what's no longer needed. Take a deep breath in, and then with the exhale, land the body. Let it land. Notice where it lands. Notice if one side's pulling more than the other. Just notice where your body is at first. And then make a decision about where you would like to be for your resting pose. So maybe you want to move into full corpse. Maybe you want to put your feet on a chair, something underneath your knees. You need blankets and props. Start to set up. So your resting pose is for resting. So now we looked for all those places that we might hold tension. And we tried to connect that mind-body connection to any of those places that we were holding tension. Start to look in. Start to think about any muscle that you found when we were practicing today that was particularly holding tension. When we started to move it, you noticed something, or maybe Kaylee mentioned at one point in the practice that she couldn't do a movement without using her whole back. So maybe thinking about her holding pattern. So whatever your holding pattern is, she has a holding pattern that when she moves her back, she tends to engage everything, overly pulling in every muscle she can possibly bring in because she doesn't feel particularly stable in her back. She has some back holding patterns and issues. Many people have this, and everyone's patterns are different. And one of the things that we love to do is the cognitive head loves to get in, likes to go in, and it says, oh, I know why I walk this way, or I know why I do this, or I know why my shoulder pulls this way. It's because of this injury or this memory or this thing. And we try, more grasping, more cognitive grasping, trying to label, define, and create definitions and labels in a chaotic world. And it might be helpful for a little while, but more often than not, it causes more problems than it's worth. So, thinking about our holding patterns as just physical sensations in our body, and not even thinking about whether they should or should not be there, or whether they are beneficial or not beneficial to us. So sometimes we have holding patterns that our body has designed for us to make us more comfortable, and that is okay. It is not that we need to assess and adjust and reset everything so that we seem to be some perfect model of human anatomy, because everyone is different. We all have different things going on. Nobody can take everybody's bones and look at the slight adjustments in their shape and make sure that we're doing all our movements perfect for that kind of bone shape. It's all very complicated. And we don't look in so that we can judge. We don't look in to say, my spine looks this way and I must change it. We look in so that we can see where there might be tension, see how we might bring a little softness and rest to muscles that might be getting tired. See how we can strengthen some muscles that might be able to support some of those tired muscles. And then just getting to know sensation, getting to know what's going on in the physical body, just to be present for it, just to be supportive for it, to learn about it, to care for it, to be true to it. And the more and more that you can learn to check in and look in and feel what is present, the more that you can give compassion to this physical unit that you walk around in that provides life for you, the less that you can judge, the more comfortable your life will be. So as we talk about body scanning, that's what we're talking about, looking in, finding muscles. And it may be helpful to give yourself a regular pattern, a regular flow of where you send your attention to. Or maybe you just think about the places where you find tension today and rest in there, look in there, see if you can bring more softness to that space. And then magic trick. Notice when the mind has run off the mat. Do another body scan. So once your mind ran off the mat, so let's say I start at my toes, I soften all the way up my legs and my torso, my hands, my face. I'm in magic softness. I feel so great and soft and wonderful. I've melted into the ground. And I feel so at peace and rest. And then I start thinking about my grocery list and all the things I have to do for the rest of the day. And I get frustrated. I say, oh, there goes my mind again. I'm so frustrated. Why can't I just stay on my mat? So once I do this, I can go, let's check back in. And already, just as I'm discussing this with you, I can feel tension in my arms, in my hands, in my face. I'm starting to feel a little tense in the torso because when I set grocery list, I really did think about the things I have to do today. So I really did bring physical tension back into my body. So as your brain pulls you away, check back in on the physical body. Where do you commonly start to hold tension when you've wandered away? And the practice is not to get it perfect and to stay in that wonderful, magical, melty place where you're so soft. The practice is to notice when the mind does what it does and gently bring your focus back to coming back to softness, back to resting, melting. Maybe a little pause between the thoughts. And then over again. Gently over and over and over again. Patience, kindness, compassion for your mind, compassion for your body, compassion for where you are at in your practice, and compassion for what is going on for you emotionally in your life, any stress you're feeling. Be kind to that. Notice when the mind is judging the feelings. And we can be truthful to our feelings too. So our feelings are something that happens. It's an energy. It's something in our environment. And our feelings can be very helpful information. So start to observe feelings as filters for your environment, energy that's happening, that's supposed to move and flow. And rather than labeling and giving them a story and trailing away with them and getting caught up in the tornado of a feeling, just try to allow it to be present, open. Let it sit, let it come. Observe it. Try not to push it away. Try not to overly expand it. Oh, I only want to feel joy. And trying to push everything else out and grasp onto that feeling of joy. Letting feelings flow. Letting feelings move. So when we talk about truth in yoga, it means a lot more than just being truthful with your words and actions. It means being in line with your inner truth layer, your bliss layer. And one of the ways, in fact, it's kind of impossible to be in line with our truth layer unless we know what it is and unless we connect within it. It can kind of happen by accident, but it's helpful to connect within. So we thought about the physical layers of the body today. We moved, we tried to address some places where we might be holding some tension. We moved with our breath. And we talked about energy and feelings. We talked about thoughts. And then underneath all that, the part that kind of ties it all together, the physical experience, the thoughts, the feelings, the energetic layer, the thing that ties that all together is the magic sauce, the you part, a spark of life. It's something more than all those parts. So you're more than just your thoughts. You're more than just your feelings, and you are more than just this physical body. There's something else. There's something that ties it all together and gives you this human experience. So that's our bliss layer in the teachings of yoga, and we call that the bliss layer. And it's the part within. It's the part within us that connects to a beautiful sunset. And that's the part within us that can't help but laugh when a baby giggles. It's the part within us that guides us to a yoga practice or to a spiritual practice of some kind. It's the part that sends us to visit a loved one when we're feeling sad. It's that part that sends you, you're not quite sure why you did something, but you know it's the thing you should be doing right now. You know it's the thing that feels like that's what you should be doing right now. So it's kind of the place that's hardest to define. It is really a sensation. It's really not defined easily by cognitive words and translations, and it's a feeling. So as you're laying here practicing, drawing away from the thoughts, drawing away from the physical body, allowing the emotions to flow, and being nice and soft, see if you can draw in towards that bliss layer. And it can be helpful to think about it as a place towards the heart center. And maybe it's the place that you draw to just by thinking about drawing towards your heart and listening for the sound of your own heartbeat. This is your truth layer. This is your essential nature. And it's the spark in us that connects with the spark in others. So as you're drawing in towards your heart center, if you have the time to spend more time drawing in, resting here, take the time that you need. Take all the time that you need. If you need to finish up at the 60-minute mark, you're going to start to curl up in a fetal position, trying to stay connected to that center point. So thinking about diving below the layer of the physical body, below the thoughts, below the energy, below the breath, below everything, right in towards center, towards your spark. Curl up in a ball in a fetal position. And rest here in your truth center. So your bliss center. Your bliss center connection is hindered by that mean little inner critic we carry around. It's part of the ego. It's also hindered by these walls that we build up of protection, trying to keep our hearts safe. So without cognitively thinking about memories or particular things, think about some of those nasty sentences or nasty things we say to ourselves. Perhaps when you look in a mirror, you say something in particular. Maybe when you do something a certain way, when you have a mistake that you do somewhat frequently, you have a name you call yourself. Any of these little nasty negative responses in ourselves that are a hindrance to our own bliss connection, our connection to our own essential self. Imagine letting them soften, being ready to let them go. And some of these walls of protection, they were there, they served a purpose. So imagine thanking them and being ready to let them go. Thanking them for their protection and letting some more softness expand around your heart space, around your bliss center. Perhaps imagining your shoulders feeling softer and lighter, your chest feeling softer and lighter, the back feeling softer and lighter. And then as you come up to a seated position and bring your hands to prayer, honoring your bliss center. So left and right sides meet in front of the heart, as if accepting yourself as whole and complete, precisely as you are, honoring your own essential nature, your bliss layer, honoring your truth. Imagine feeling a little more connected, a little more open. And it is not that we lead with our hearts believing that nothing will ever go wrong. It is that we lead with our hearts because we know that when things are difficult and don't go as expected, we know how to connect within. We know how to have our own backs. So think about being more open, more connected. And then think about sending your bliss out into your community. So letting your bliss open and expand and reach out into the lives of the people that you touch. And think about it visually. Maybe you think about a certain person and wrapping them in a green ball of loving, compassionate energy. Maybe you just see them smiling. Try not to do a cognitive explanation, but a visual, imaginative expression from the heart. And the light in me sees and honors the light in each of you. Thank you so much for joining us.